entertainment, and boy do I have some news for you. Today we're going to do something special. We are going to be going over Pro Air makeup, and we're going to be finding out different chemicals that are mixed into the Pro Air makeup to find out what would happen. This is not an evaluation to down Pro Air. This is pretty much finding out what would happen if you would mix certain chemicals into the Pro Air makeup to see what would happen. Because it's an alcohol-based makeup, you're going to get a different reaction. And we have multiple different products that we're going to add to this, and we're going to do little samples to see what would happen if these products are mixed in it. For example, we got hand sanitizer, we're going to have water, we're going to have soap, we're going to have bleach. So we're going to have a lot of different chemicals, a lot of different fun things that we're going to add into this makeup to see what would happen with a sample and what would happen to the makeup and what reaction we would get from it. So please enjoy. Let's put on our safety glasses and let's have a fun time with this new science experiment that we are about to do.
Okay, for this first part of the experiment of what we're about to do, we're going to be using Pro Air makeup, which is alcohol-based makeup, and finding out what would happen if we mix all these chemicals and solutions in with it. This is face painting makeup. It's got a nice odor to it. It smells good. So we're just going to take a tiny bit. We're just going to drop it. Okay. And now we're going to take a little bit of water and we're going to add a water solution to it to see what would happen if you mix water with this solution. Now they generally say when airbrushing, alcohol-based makeup, you do not want to mix water with it because it gums up. So when you go to mix it, you see it gets very gummy. And as you can tell, it's real chunky. So it gives like a residue. So that is not something you want inside your airbrush guns. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up so you can see what would happen if you get that residue. So that's not a good solution you'd want. Now in this experiment, we're going to be adding 91% alcohol to the solution, and you're going to see a major difference. So first things first, we're going to take a little bit, put a sample, put that back. Now watch what happens when you mix alcohol with the Pro Air makeup. Now as you can tell, it dilutes, it becomes very fine, it works really well, has a good solution to it. It's not chunky like you saw before. There's a big difference in what we saw. So if you get a nice close-up on it, you'll see it actually dilutes really well. So this is a solution that we would be adding when you're doing airbrush. And now, after this, we are going to add hand sanitizer to see what would happen if you mix hand sanitizer with Pro Air makeup. Hand sanitizer is made from 91% alcohol and aloe vera, and sometimes a minute amount of hydrogen peroxide. Now we have hand sanitizer. So we're just going to take a little drop. We're going to drop there. And we're going to go and add a little bit of hand sanitizer to see what would happen if you mix hand sanitizer with alcohol-based makeup. Now as you can tell, it kind of actually creates like a clump. It actually dissolved it a little bit. It looks like it kind of hardened it up. It is alcohol-based. So it looks like it's not really doing much of an effect. It kind of separates itself, which I wouldn't run this through my airbrush gun. It looks like it would do a lot of damage to my airbrush guns if you do try. I could see where this may lubricate parts. Hand sanitizer is harmless to the skin. So for the next solution we're going to add is dishwashing soap. This dishwashing soap is a good cleaner. I noticed that a lot of times we'll go over and we'll wash it off ourselves. We use soap and water. So we're going to see what happens if we use direct soap on alcohol-based makeup. And we're going to add just a tiny bit of soap just to see what would happen. And as you can tell, it does dilute the makeup extremely. So this would be a good alternative way to clean your airbrush guns if you had to. It could work. It does dilute it. It does a really nice job. It's not clumpy like the water was doing to it. So as you can see, it's very well diluted. It has a really good effect to it. So soap would be a very good way to lubricate and clean your airbrush guns if you absolutely had to. I would not recommend it, but dishwashing soap is a safe alternative. Our next solution that we're going to mix is bleach. And the thing with bleach, and a good rule of thumb, is you do not want to mix anything with bleach. Bleach is a very potent chemical. It can be very toxic if you're not careful. And if you mix bleach and other cleaning positives together, such as ammonia, you would get what's called Clorox gas. And it's very toxic to the lungs. And it could do a lot of damage to your lungs, your eyes, your ears. It's not good. In fact, they even used it in warfare for chemical warfare. But if you mix it with alcohol, you could actually create what's called chloroform. So we're going to take a tiny bit of bleach, and it's 100% pure bleach, and we're just going to add just one drop. And we're going to see what would happen, what the reaction would be if you mixed bleach with this product. So I have a mask on. I'm making sure I don't have it. As you can tell, it looks like it's dissolving the makeup. I mean, literally forming with it. So I'm going to make sure we get this all cleaned up. Chemicals are very important. You don't clean them up. You do not want to wash bleach down the drains, because if you mix Drano or any soaps with it, you could create a gas. So it's very important to not mix them and dump them down the drain. For the next experiment, we're going to use Gatorade. So this is Gatorade Zero. So we're going to try and see what would happen with all the sugars and all the stuff that's inside the Gatorade, to see what the effect would be with a Pro Air makeup. So I'm just going to get a tiny bit of Gatorade. I'm just going to add it to the makeup to see what would happen. Now it looks like it had a little interesting effect. It looks like it's made it all clumpy. It looks like it really did some work on the makeup and diluted some of it and just dissolved the alcohol base of it. Now it's real clumpy and chunky. So running this through an airbrush gun would cause a lot of problems. This would be not something you'd ever want to run through your gun. It was kind of interesting seeing the effect. It was mind-blowing, but this would do a lot of damage to your airbrush gun if you tried to run it. For the next experiment, we're going to add olive oil. I've always been wondering what would happen if you had olive oil mixed in with alcohol-based makeup. You're dealing with two different solutions. So we're going to see what would happen if you go and you mix alcohol-based makeup with olive oil. So we're going to open up the olive oil and we're going to pour a tiny bit on the makeup to see what would happen if we add olive oil to the makeup. There we go. Now, as you can tell, it looks like it separates the makeup. It looks like I even see a film where it did some damage to the makeup, where it doesn't look like it's even trying to do much. It does separate from the oil to the airbrush makeup. It causes a lot of separation. I'll hold it up closer so you can see it, and as you can tell, this would probably be one of the worst things you could ever run through your airbrush gun. I mean, this would do a lot of damage. I can even see where it's starting to harden a little bit, and that would not be good. Now here's an interesting solution, is Vodka. This is 40% alcohol, and we're going to see if we can get a similar effect as we did with the 91% rubbing alcohol. Give it a little drop. And then we're going to add a tiny bit of vodka to there we go. Add a tiny bit of vodka. So now we just added some vodka to the, and it looks like it separates. So as you can tell, we go back and forth. There's a separation between the airbrush makeup and the vodka. So the rubbing alcohol does not have the same effect as it does with the vodka. And as you can tell, it separates, it has its own form. So this would be a very bad solution to add to your airbrush gun. It would not be good. It would probably gum up your gun and cause all kinds of problems. So even though you're dealing with a high alcohol concentrate, because of the other sugars and the other stuff in there, it does cause problems with the airbrush makeup. In fact, this is an effect that I was quite surprised to see. And now for our last experiment, an open flame to the alcohol-based makeup. We're going to see what would happen to the alcohol-based makeup when you put a light to the alcohol-based makeup. I do have a wet towel here just in case I have to put it out. So that way, if it does get too big, I can immediately put it out and smother it. The thing with this type of lighting of alcohol, you have to put it out this way. If you try to put water in it, it will actually spread the flame because it's a chemical fire, not a fire that you're actually burning the debris, where you can easily just put it out with water. So we're just going to take a tiny bit and we're going to see what would happen if we go and add a flame to the alcohol-based makeup. So as you can tell, it looks like it does have a nice little light to it. It is flammable. It looks like it does go out pretty quickly, and it does looks like it leaves a little bit of residue. So if you touch it, it's cool. So I'm going to go through and see if I touch it with water, see what happens. And as you can tell, the rag does absolutely nothing. It does kind of a neat effect. It burns off all the alcohol off the makeup. So it's a pretty cool effect. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Now that we just got done doing our science experiment, we had some very unique reactions. I had a really good time trying these products out and these things. Please, if you're going to try this stuff at home, please be safe. Make sure you wear the proper protection. I had to wear a respirator. I had to wear gloves. I had to make sure certain things I was okay. And despite it's a pretty safe makeup, it's pretty safe in your hands, I didn't really have a lot of issues with it. But it is very important when you're mixing chemicals, especially when you're using chemicals like bleach. It can cause a really bad reaction if you mix the wrong thing. So do your research. Find out what's in the product and find out what would happen with the certain chemical reactions. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.